Hey everyone, welcome to WitchSlapped, the PopWire Aftershow for SYFY's SurrealEstate. My name is Rowell.
I'm Dani. Hi, everybody.
Hey everyone, before we begin, I want to talk about something that I'm doing on social media. So I'm going to put the image of the SurrealEstate key art right here for you guys to see. And then as you can see in the key art and the poster for season 3, there is a keyhole, and then there you can see Susan and Luke behind the keyhole. As soon as I saw that, I thought to myself, I think it would be fun if there would be a way to have fans do it themselves so that they can be in the keyhole. So I did some finagling with Photoshop, and yeah, so I'm gonna actually show you 3 of the submissions that we got so far. So let's take a look at those. Yeah, if you want to be keyholed, as I say, follow us on PopWireNet on any of our social platforms. Submit your photo and you'll get keyholed. Okay, all right, so 305 is called The Gardener. It is described as follows. As Susan, Luke, and August help a client whose relationship has been disrupted by a seductive, mysterious gardener, Lomax helps out her parents at the funeral home and gets a surprising offer. The episode was written once again by Justin Rowana, who wrote episode 303, and directed by Paula Barsman, who so far has directed the first 5 episodes. So, the episode is called The Gardener. And Dani has a lot of stuff that I'm sure she did a whole deep dive and
Oh, no, did he? I didn't real.
yeah, what did you think about the whole bee story? What was it, A story?
I thought it was really fun. I enjoyed the kind of folklore from Chile that they brought in. I don't know if it's actual local lore or not. I didn't look it up. I should have. I did look it up to see if it was a real flower, and it is. However, it's not actually purple, at least from what I saw. But well, for the sake of this story, right, what happens is like the OG sheep eater plant ended up eating a person, which made the plant evolve into this beautiful purple flower that then lures people in when it's blooming for a week every 6 years. And then, yeah, it's a carnivorous plant. So once it gets a person trapped in it, the body decomposes, the plant gets fed. And yeah, so that was our villain for this episode. It was great. I loved it.
Would you ever go into the woods with a stranger? Like,
Hey, well, no, but I think it's because of whatever was going on with the flower, right? It was like really messing with her head. So now we're gonna move on to my Who Said It. And in this segment, I'm gonna give you guys a quote from this episode, and then Rowell and you, the audience, are gonna try to guess who it is. All right, Rowell, you ready?
yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So my quote is, "Luck is not a strategy."
Okay.
Is
I
not.
think I know. I think I know who it is. And I love that conversation. And I think I was laughing at that whole conversation. And I'm so glad she's back. So I think it is Rita Weiss.
Yeah.
And she's talking to Luke, I think, either on the phone or in person at her new listing. And Hannah gloating. They're on the phone and she's gloating. And the whole conversation was hilarious. Yeah.
Yep, you totally got it right. Nice job.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add about that?
Um, I think Rita's a really funny character, and I love like the banter between her and Luke. So it's good to have her back, and she seems like as fiery as ever.
Yes. And she's played by Allison Brooks. And she was cracking me up through this whole episode. So for favorite moments for me is going to be Rita Weiss crashing Bernice's funeral, looking for new widowers who want to sell their homes so that they can downsize. And she tells Lomax, because Lomax catches her, because Lomax's family owns that funeral home. And so as soon as she sees Rita, Lomax is like beeline straight towards her. And then she tells Lomax, who has to die for one of these houses to become available? And then Lomax says that she's hearse chasing. But I think that's a cool idea to get business. I think she's very smart. What about your favorite moment, Dani?
So that was actually one of my favorite moments, was that conversation, because it was really funny. And then my other favorite moment is another scene with Lomax when her parents have invited her over for dinner and to get a little bit of help in their funeral home. And over dinner, they ask her if she wants to take over the family business. And so while she's like processing that, she's, in the basement and she's cleaning up a body. And she starts having this full on conversation with the body. It's like, her subconscious, obviously. But I just thought that was really hilarious. And it seems like that's something that she regularly did, before she moved on to real estate. And I just thought that was hilarious. But yeah, she's like, going back and forth between the pros and cons of both careers. And it was just very morbid and funny.
Yeah. And then when I spoke with George R. Olson, he was talking about her struggle between the two professions. He said, after all, real estate is in her blood. So she is sticking with the agency. I think it'd be so cool. I don't know if you thought about this though. What if Lomax had like a superpower where she could talk to the dead, like in that scene,
That'd be so awesome.
and that she would get like some information about what happened or whatever? I think that would be so maybe because Luke can actually see the spirits and talk to them. What if Lomax can actually talk to the bodies when they're dead? And I think that would be a cool power.
I can see it. Yeah, I can totally see it.
All right, so now we're off to our big moments from the episode. Dani, what would be
I think another one with Lomax is when she does decide to stay with the Roman agency. And she lets her parents know, and they're actually really supportive. Um, Before that, they were kind of like dismissive of her career as a realtor. Um, but I think when she kind of explained why she wants to remain with the Roman Ireland agency, she basically tells them that like she's really happy, like she is actually enjoying working with people that are alive. And I think the most touching part about that conversation, she's like, I finally have a best friend, which is Susan, right? And I thought that was really lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was I think a big moment for her character. And I think the other one I'll mention is August. He's, I think once again he has this sort of inner turmoil happening, and he's feeling how did he put it? Feels like redundant. He feels like he's not needed anymore, and that just makes me so sad for him. So I think he really is a valuable asset to the team, and to be frank, I do not like how Luke is treating him. I think he's being very unfair. I can understand that bills are expensive and he's paying the bills and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. There's a better way to communicate that stuff. And he's just been very kind of, I guess, snarky with Augie. Augie has a soft spot for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
and without all that tech, I mean, they can't really do much, right?
Yeah. I mean, they were struggling without him, right? That's why pulling into things. And now, like, I don't know. But it's not a good situation, though. I really hope that Augie isn't going to be leaving us. That would make me really sad.
Oh, yeah. And then I was worried too when Lomax was like, considering going back. But then after what happened last season when she wrote that resignation letter, in the fake resident, that I don't, yeah, I don't want to lose her again. I mean, uh, yeah, and I do love. Those are really good big moments. My big moment. So we got no Tyler McNeil this episode, so there's no update on Malik. Wanting to possess Luke's body, and no update on the bricks. Which, if you watch the last episode of WitchSlapped, Dani has a great theory on the bricks. So go watch that. It's really cool. But I want to talk. My big moment I want to talk about is the ending, and I mentioned at the top of this recording that I cried. So think Luke, he goes to a homeowner's house earlier in the episode and they're having marital problems. And then the homeowner says, it's hard to be friends with someone you really love, or something to that effect. And you can see it in Luke's mind that he's kind of like reflecting on his relationship with Megan. Luke meets up with Megan, and she seems distracted. She's on her phone, and then she mentions her boyfriend's name, which I'm blanking on.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah, uh, and the whole scene, I felt so sad. I think they started crying, and I started crying because we find out that I guess she didn't know that Luke had feelings for her, and I think she said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And then he said, "You left," and she was like, "You should have fought for me," you know? And then after that whole conversation, she starts to leave, and I kept screaming at the TV, "Luke, turn around, go get your girl,
Yeah.
go chase her, fight for her. I really want them to be endgame." And, so this is giving me, like, Ross and Rachel vibes.
Oh,
I get like, from Friends and, other on again, off again. You don't know if they're gonna get together, but I really do hope that they do end up together. Now, my thing is, it's kinda like with this show and SYFY, we don't know if the show's gonna get a season 4. So, I hope it ties up at the end of season 3 that they do get together, because that will just break my heart if they don't.
yeah. I mean, so what does your heart tell you or your gut? Like, do you think they're gonna get back together? Do you think this is the end for
Buddy is I actually also ship Luke with Rita, and Luke Susan, right? Uh,
Aw.
but I don't know. There's something about like the first relationships in like shows and movies where I think they just have this really big connection, and then in the middle, they separate, they see other people, but then eventually at the end they do get back together. I don't know. I really enjoy Megan's character. I'm so glad to have Tennille Reed back. And Tennille, if you're watching, I love chatting with you in season 1. But I really want them to especially after that scene. They the writers planted they planted a seed, so they
Yeah.
have to come back to that.
Yeah, and then if Megan didn't realize that Luke was actually in love with her, I can see why she would kind of friend zone him.
Yep.
Yeah, but I am hopeful for the 2 of them because I do like them both together. I think, um, I think they had a really great connection. Uh, at the end of the episode, when she is walking away, doesn't she stop and, like, look back at him for a brief moment? Yeah, and eh, when I see that from a character, I feel like they're thinking about it, like, there's something there that they don't wanna necessarily let go of, whether it means she's worried about losing his friendship altogether, or she's kind of like, "I do have feelings for him." I don't know, we'll see, but, I'm looking
So call back to he's from Mobst. Okay.
Alright, guys, so now we're gonna move on to the Caption This segment. Um ahead of every episode, each week, we send out a photo from the week's episode and we post it on our social media. And then we ask you guys to caption the picture. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we got this week. All right, and that was our caption this. Again, if you want to participate, just look for the photo that we will post on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter, or X if you want to call it that. And then comment below it with your caption, and then you'll be featured in WitchSlapped's Caption This segment.
All right. So now we are on to my Who Said It. And I think you're going to get this one. Okay. So, and again, as Dani mentioned earlier, this is a quote from the episode. Y'all have to guess who said it. And, okay. So my quote is, "Aw, you old sweet talker."
Old sweet talk.
Okay, if you guys know who it is, put in the comments below before I reveal who it is or before Dani guesses it.
I feel like I'm going to bomb this one.
Old sweet talker. Who could that be about? Who's the old sweet talker?
Is it someone talking to Augie? Can you give me a clue?
I'll say it was a woman talking to a man.
A woman talking to a man. Nope, I don't have it. Oh my God.
Okay. All right, so it was Lomax saying that to her dad.
Oh.
I think they're in the kitchen. And the mom is cooking something on the stove. I don't remember what the dad said, but Lomax's response was, "Oh, you old sweet talker." What I do love, though, is that the word adopted wasn't ever brought up in this episode. So, you just see her and the parents. And because you know how a lot of movies and TV shows, they have to establish that,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're adopted." You know what I mean? And, but yeah, I love that they didn't even mention it. So it's just,
Yeah, so it's not necessarily needed, right?
yeah. I love that. Yeah. Another one of my favorite, this is one of my favorite quotes. It's not a who said it, but one of my favorite quotes has to do again with Rita. And she is talking to Luke in her listing and she's gloating. And I think he wants to know how she got the listing. And she goes, "Luke, I don't ask you how you cast your spells or commune beyond the veil or make your hair do that.
Yeah.
Please don't ask me to divulge my trade secrets. Look upon my works and despair." And yes, I love that. I love that moment. And yeah, and the writer of the episode, Justin Rowana, told me that he loved writing for Rita in this episode. I just thought Rita was a hoot, which leads me into the next portion of our show, the performer of the episode.
I have to say it's Elena for me. I really, really love seeing Lomax's more of her, I guess, background. Like we got a little bit of that when she was introduced last season. And but yeah, getting to meet her parents, seeing how she interacts with them, seeing her, working in the funeral home, the body, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Back to Elena, I think she does a really great job making Lomax the sort of unique person that she is, you know? From the way that she like speaks and like how she presents humor and all that kind of stuff. I think she's just great.
And I think I mentioned before, like, I love her because, she's purple, and I think she's the sweetest. I interviewed her last season about her introduction to the show and the fan response. She said that a lot of fans, or we saw that a lot of fans were really liking her character, and it was a great addition to the show. And I found out that she's actually also a singer. So hopefully we get to see her sing on the show.
Were we gonna get a musical out of them?
Yes, that's what we've been trying to get. Yeah.
I think we need a poll. We need to do a poll on social media and then present it to SYFY and be like, look, guys.
Yeah. For the longest time, I had a great idea for a musical episode, but I never put it up. But I guess I'll still work on it and put it up eventually.
I should. You really
Yeah. You can catch up on seasons 1 and 2 of Sci-Fi Surreal Estate on Hulu. I believe you can catch season 3 on Hulu if you have the Hulu Plus Live subscription, which is a higher tier. I wouldn't get that. And then season 3 airs every Thursdays at 10/9 Central on Sci-Fi.
All right. It was really great to see everybody. Again, my name is Dani.
And I'm Rowell. We will see you next week.
Wow.